Growing up in the early 2000s was kind of rough. Everything was, no, I don't want to be fat. I don't want to eat that because that has too many carbs. That was the norm. Very toxic. So this video is going to talk about weight. It's going to talk a little bit about bullying, trying to lose weight, your size, and things of that nature. So if that is triggering for you, please click out of this video. From the time that I was smaller, I was big, and that is just how I grew up. From around the time that I was about 8 years old, I was a big girl. I was already over 100 pounds, and I was the biggest in my friend group. I do feel like genetics played part of a role in that, but I also feel like overeating and unhealthy eating habits played a big role in that too. It wasn't until I was about 15 that I actually started to lose weight and slim down, and that was because my mom had put me into kickboxing. I was very active. I was going almost every single day. I was even going on the weekends. I was running. I was even doing boxing after class, and I would just generally walk a lot of places. So I was super active when I was around 15 and 16. With that being said, even me being active, I always felt like I was the biggest person in the room. When I was in high school, I was the biggest out of my friends, and now looking back at it, I wasn't even big. I just was bigger than my friends, and I've always been bigger than my friends. It's that I was heavier than them, and I had a lot more muscle mass than them. And you can't really do anything about muscle mass. It's just something that is there. It's your genetics. Even though I wasn't lifting weights, I still had put on muscle because I was working out. I was working out so intensely and not just doing cardio. My friends always were on the smaller side. They were like a size 2, a size 00. They were extremely small, and I think around like 100 pounds. And for me, I was, I think, almost 160 pounds at that time. I hadn't really gone lower than that, and I wasn't really able to get lower than that. And honestly, I would be so happy to be 160 pounds right now. But that's not where I am right now. That's not my season of life. The purpose of this video is going to serve some sort of advice for people struggling with their weight. If you are a teenager and you feel like you are the biggest person in the room, I really, really encourage you to take a step back and learn to love yourself, to really reflect on why you think that you are the biggest person in the room, and to learn that everybody's body is different, everybody's genetics are different, and nobody's gonna look the same. Growing up in the early 2000s was kind of rough, only because every single movie talked about weight. Everything was, no, I don't want to be fat. I don't want to eat that because that has too many carbs, or I don't want that because it's gonna give me a big butt. And that was the norm. That was normal to hear on TV, that people wanted this slim frame, that you didn't want to be fat. If you gained 1 pound, that was it, you were ugly. It was so negative and very toxic, especially for a little girl growing up in the world. But that's what was normal. There was America's Next Top Model, where if you had the tiniest bit of fat on you, that's it, you were a plus size model. And it's insane to think that somebody who was a size 6 was being called plus size. Around the time that I was about 12, I knew that I didn't look the way that I wanted to, or at least I felt like I didn't look the way that I wanted to, because I was only a child. And it's very heartbreaking, because I thought that there was some way that I could actually change my body and my genetics to be really, really slim and to lose all this weight and to look like a Victoria's Secret model. And it was just what I was seeing on TV. It was also what I was hearing in the home. As a woman coming from a Hispanic background, I am Puerto Rican, I heard a lot of negative talk about the body. I heard nothing positive about the way that the women in my family felt about the way that they looked. Everything was, well, you don't want to get fat, you're fat, or, you know, like gordo and stuff like that. And that's the way that people would talk about themselves, about others, and these were people that they cared about. I remember just like growing up and always hearing like, oh, well, you know, you're on the chunky side, or you don't look like that. And it it's not something that you want to hear. And people in my family were very honest, and they didn't need to be. Where somebody would need encouragement, there was no encouragement. So people were talking negatively about their body, always criticizing their bodies, and I learned to do that as well because I was a product of my environment. So with thinking that you're the fat friend, it might be time for you to reevaluate where these values are coming from. Why do you feel like you are the fat friend? Why do you feel like you need to be thinner or take up less space? Why is that important to you? It's okay to want to lose weight, and it's okay to take care of yourself in that way, but you really have to think about what it is that you want for you, and is it healthy? From the time that I was younger, I always knew that I was bigger, and like I said, when I was in 3rd grade, I had gained a lot of weight, and from that time, I was called fat. I thought that fat meant ugly, and I really just started to isolate myself and just eat more and become more unhealthy. And I think that it's important to realize where these unhealthy patterns come from, and if they stem from childhood, if they stem from bullying, and how we can actually combat those thoughts and challenge those thoughts so that they become healthier thoughts. Because as a child, I shouldn't have felt like I was ugly because I was overweight, because I was bigger than my friends. I mean, it really does start with the environment and the people around you. Even my pediatrician had used the word fat. I think that was the first person that called me fat, was my pediatrician when I was 8. And that was really hard. That stuck with me clearly because I remember it even to this day. It's not something that really ever leaves you, and you feel like that defines you throughout life. As a mom of 3 and me having a daughter, I want her to feel comfortable in her body. I want her to know that she's beautiful, and I want to know that her weight does not define her value and her worth. And I think that that's really important just to take with life, because if we thought about how we would speak to our younger selves, I think that would heal a lot of the trauma and the hurt that we have with our bodies and the relationships that we have with them. In losing so much weight, yes, I do feel more confident, but I still am big. I don't look like everybody that you see on TV. I'm no longer plus size, but I don't feel like I look like I'm not. And that's really hard. I think that when you grow up, and if you're stuck in that mentality for so many years, thinking that you're fat and feeling like you're the fat one and the bigger person in the room, it's hard to break away from that. And I think that we can all use a little bit of love. I know now my worth is not based off of the size of me, but what I actually bring to the table and my personality. It's just hard to look in the mirror and be happy with what you see. But the best thing that I can say is be appreciative of where you are right now in this moment, and thank yourself, thank your body for where it's gotten you and how far it's gotten you, because you wouldn't be here without it. And if you are struggling to lose weight right now, it's not always going to be like that. It's not always going to be hard. You might be in a plateau right now, and then a few weeks from now, you'll see a lot of change. Our bodies go through seasons, and sometimes we plateau, and that's completely normal as well. The biggest thing that we need to do is stop judging ourselves off of a number. Because our bodies are not based off of just numbers. We have so much to offer other than numbers. And if you are healthy in every other aspect and your weight is not moving down in the way that you want to see it, don't place your worth on that number. It's really not worth your sanity. If you're in a period feeling like you need to change because of the people around you, you need to reevaluate the people that you have around you. If they're making you feel like you're less than because you are not the same size as them, then you need to leave that friend group. You need to distance yourself from that family member because they're not helping you. They're only hurting you. Remember that your worth is not based off of your size, and you guys are always doing amazing. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know that it was short, but I hope that it was inspirational and helped you guys a little bit on your journey. You are never alone when you're on my page. So if you liked it, please subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.